Rhode Island is recognized for being the first state in the nation with an offshore wind farm, the one off Block Island. But it isn't clear that Rhode Island will continue to lead the way in these kinds of endeavors. Mark Murphy is the editor of the Providence Business News. Our cover story in the current edition of the paper examines that. And another outlines to what extent Rhode Islanders rely on natural gas for electricity. But first, this first mover advantage that the headline talks about in terms of wind power, in jeopardy, you say?
Absolutely. You know, when the process started, and now it's over a decade ago that Deepwater Wind, which has since been bought out by Ørsted, which is a Danish company, in 2009 they said essentially they would, after Block Island Wind Farm, they would make the first large-scale wind farm offshore, and would also at the same time create about 800 jobs. Now, these weren't permanent jobs, because once the wind farm is up and running, you don't need to do anything. But if you're building a really large-scale facility offshore, those jobs last for a number of years. As recently as 2016, Deepwater confirmed that commitment. Now, it's not clear, and that's really where the story starts.
Well, that was supposed to power all of Rhode Island and beyond, that larger farm, right?
Right. Well, not all of Rhode Island. I think it might be a quarter of Rhode Island's power needs. But what's happened is other players have joined in, and Rhode Island is also, dumping about 400 megawatts into the Rhode Island grid, but also 300 megawatts into Connecticut from the same farm. And close by, it's called Vineyard Wind, which is another project, will dump about 800 megawatts into the Massachusetts grid. So you've got these major players out there, and there's still some ocean water that can be developed, and there are other projects being proposed for it.
Competition, and they say the site of the old Brayton Point power plant might be a servicing area for wind farm projects out in the water. And
that's really the crux of this story, is how ready is Rhode Island? And for instance, the Port of Newport of New Bedford has invested more than $100 million in getting it ready, and it's pretty much ready. And so Vineyard Wind has an agreement there, as does Ørsted. And the improvements that were supposed to be happening at Provport in Providence and at Quonset really haven't started yet. Now, with the time period, the time frame being what it is, which means Vineyard Wind actually comes online before what's called Revolution Wind, which is Ørsted's project. With that, the local project being later, they're saying, look, no big deal. But Ørsted is also going to do a project for Long Island, east of Montauk, and they're actually expecting that will come online before the Revolution Wind.
Wow, over the years, turbines everywhere in the water.
Well, a lot, yeah.
Some on land too, but in the water. There's more about that in the cover story in the current edition of the Providence Business News, along with a twin cover story citing Rhode Island being 90% reliant on natural gas for its electricity. That's the highest percentage in the country. That's another story that I think you'll find of interest. And Mark Murphy, we thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Frank.